Finally, after years of talking, what I believe will be the most popular podcast we've ever done is here and it's happening. It gives me great pleasure to introduce my mate David Safi, founder of Formgrids, and we are going to spend the next 20 episodes, however long this takes, educating people on Formgrids, how to use it, the advantages of Formgrids. David, thank you for doing this. How are you?
Joe, like you said, finally, it's been quite a challenge to even get to where we are. But like you say, we're here now. Let's just get it done.
Yeah. So, David, Formgrid's been around for how long now?
We turned 21 in August.
21, eh? But the original Formgrids is older than that. The concept, the concept of Formgrids.
Yeah, the concept I started in the 80s, around about 1986 or 87, on a Olivetti typewriter.
Okay. We will put up a picture of a typewriter when we edit this because we've got a lot of young viewers that have got no fucking idea what a typewriter is. So
Well, believe me,
these things didn't exist.
yeah. Yeah, there was the computer age was in its infancy,
Yes.
and a young lady by the name of Carol Moore, well, she was a lot younger then, and she assisted me in using the Olivetti. And one of the main features that it assisted me with was the length behind tool.
My favorite. My
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah,
Today, my favorite tool. And we'll talk
yes.
about that in more depth. But so initially in the early days, this was all driven by your desire to have certain bets more efficiently and for a higher stake than your day-to-day betting.
Yeah, because I had just come back from the USA. I'd worked for Charlie Whittingham in California,
Okay.
otherwise known as the Bald Eagle. Bill Shoemaker was the stable jockey.
Sure. How good was he? How good was the
Yeah,
shoe?
yeah, no, it's very professional setup.
Yeah.
But I noticed that,
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you know where Bill Shoemaker got his nickname? His nickname from the shoe, not from
well,
his name.
he fitted in a shoebox when he was a kid, when he was born.
He fitted into a shoebox when he was born. That's correct.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, carry on.
So, you know, as a groom as such, working with the horses, we used to go to the course on certain days when there were one of the runners entered. And by sitting in the stands, I noticed this tractor would come and grade the course
That's right. In
after
America,
every race.
correct.
And I mean, you pick up the differences from South Africa to wherever you are. So I picked up subtle differences, and I then realized they're taking the course back to the condition it was the race before. And that led me to realize that's why the Americans are super time crazy
Correct.
because,
Yes.
and they'll race at one venue for 3 months, Santa Anita.
Correct. Correct.
Then everything gets up and moves to Del Mar
Correct.
for the next 3 months. Then they get up and they move to the next track, and
Golden Gate Fields in Cali, or
yeah, that's San Francisco. Yeah,
yeah,
Santa Anita, Del Mar, and the other one escapes me. But
yeah,
anyway, at the end of the day, then I realized why times can be very relevant in racing. Unlike our Germiston short straight, Newmarket, long straight, Turpentine, uphill, Val, all different kinds of tracks. So at times, you could work according to course and class records, but other than that, you couldn't take times too seriously because of the differences in tracks. I then found out that the American racetracks are built more or less to spec. So they're all very similar.
Yes.
And every day at a course, day in, day out, except when it rains, the going is almost as good as it was yesterday, maybe slightly drier, but it's very easy
My
to
favorite racing, by
accommodate.
the way. My
Yeah,
favorite racing. Seriously.
yeah.
My favorite racing from a consistency perspective. Uh, from a spectacle perspective, I understand if we've been blessed to watch Greyville or Turfentine or Ascot, it's nice, or Goodwood, you get to see the different thing. But from a analytical perspective, racing in America is the best.
Yes. And they got the daily race in form.
Yep.
Just one sec, Joe. I just want to see this makes it a little bit better. Yeah. You see, they got the daily race in form.
Yeah.
We had computer form.
Yes.
So computer form is a better product, in my opinion, than 99% of other racing publications.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
So I saw what were pros in our favor and what were what you'd call cons against us, if you know what I'm saying. And when I got back, I applied everything that I saw there to here and vice versa. And I started to work a little bit more professionally in my punting. And when it came to form lines, I was doing an army camp many years ago, and I phoned up uh, one of the jockeys because I was in Windhoek and there was a tab there. So I phoned the jockey and I said, give me a tip. I want to have a bet while I'm here. And he said to me, well, that horse is riding in this race. There have been no winners that came out of the race, but although it won by 8 lengths, nothing behind it has won. But the other horse in the race, there have been 2 winners out of there. And that's what started me looking at form lines. So when I put everything together, I started to do everything manually, which means I would update each horse on that race meeting onto each one of its previous races. So it became a nightmare of a task, but everything was in my head
And you found little nuggets along the way.
all the time. That's why Roy Curling and Gerald Turner used to come sit with me day in and day out, because they would see it from one angle during the race and I would see it from the other angle. And when we spoke racing, if a horse's name was mentioned, it wasn't, where was that horse again? It was immediately, that horse ran 3 lengths behind so and so last time, that came out to win. And the time before it ran 4 lengths behind that horse. So it was intensive knowledge of the subject of horse racing, which in turn gets you to understand handicapping, the different methods of handicapping, and of course the weight for age scale is also extremely important in any race goer's arsenal. And once you understand the race conditions of that race, horses can meet each other on totally different terms in different types of races. You get your weight for age races, your plate races. So it's a very important when you're doing your homework to first see what kind of a race am I looking at.
Yeah.
Once you understand what you're looking at, you can now try and work out who can win it and why.
And the reason for speaking to that lady and going to Olivetti for those watching is in those days we had 2 race meetings in South Africa a week, maybe 3, but we could see that there was 4, 5, 6 coming, and just to process all of that data would have just been a logistical nightmare.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you needed to automate it as best you could at the time.
Well, my brother Robert was the first one who said to me, he says, why don't you put this all on a computer? And, because he worked in the bank, and the bank had certain systems which were a bit more modern than what the normal guy had at his disposal,
Yeah. Isn't it,
for him to use.
isn't it amazing, David, that all of us as youngsters, we don't get taught um, to follow systems and processes. Nobody comes into a school and goes, listen, the real reason why Apple is successful is through systems and processes, and then everything else comes along, right?
Yes.
You can have the best idea in the world. If you don't have your systems and your processes in place, things really don't go well. And I can speak from personal experience. I'm 55, and it's only really been in the last 10 years. Look, I'm good on the computer and whatever, but it's only been in the last 10 years that I've got real robust systems and processes in place that if I do get hit by a bus, heaven forbid, or if somebody new comes into the business, they know what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Like but we don't get taught this, eh? We get taught 2 + 2 is 4. The capital of India is Mumbai. What I feel is almost irrelevant stuff, to be honest. We don't get taught about, and we don't get shown how these successful businesses have these underlying practices in place that ultimately mean you're successful, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And, we have to learn at our age now how to cope in this modern world.
Yeah.
But the youngsters they super smart in one way, yet they lose out in another way.
Correct, correct. Okay, so Formgrids is now on a computer, on an Olivetti machine. Used to make fantastic calculators, Olivetti, by the way. I don't even know where they are. Um, and then the punting now is still happening on a daily basis, your 1 rands, your 2 rands, and your 5 rands. But through your system, every now and then there's a 10 grand bet or a 20 grand bet or a 100 grand bet, whatever it is. And those decisions are made because in that particular situation, if there's 10 if there's 10 reasons to back a horse and only one reason is met, you have 5 rand on. If there's 10 reasons to back a horse and 8 reasons are met, you have 500 rand on. Am I?
Well, that's what was happening. I was now starting to understand why a horse wins, when it should win, when it can't win, etc. So obviously, I decided I've got to start upping my bets because I know this will win for the following reasons. Like you say, it's this, and that. And of course, a draw is vital in any race, etc., etc. So when everything used to fall into place, I used to have a bigger bet.
Yes. We have to say, sorry to interrupt you, but we have to say that what we're talking about here now requires a lot of work
Yes, yes,
and it requires a lot of dedication, but it also requires an understanding that what we're advocating here isn't get rich scheme or anything like that, right? Horses can still tick all the boxes and get beat. I mean, it's just the way it is, right? We are not saying
yes,
that we've invented fire
yes.
at all. Yeah.
But now,
But we are saying that by learning how to use form grids better, you're enhancing your chance of having a successful bet.
well, that interview, well, not interview, the show that we were trying to put on with Pumalela was called Informed with Form Grids, or Inform with Form Grids. And V. Moodley was the handicapper at the time, the chief handicapper. And as he put it, he said, he has a tool that can turn the man in the street into a professional punter.
Okay.
Because I'm not just talking about finding the obvious horses. We all find the obvious horses, those hit you in the face, but I'm talking finding 5-to-1s, 8-to-1s, 12-to-1s that are in the race and basically handicapped to win.
And am I don't know, I've never asked you this. So are you saying that, you see, because so I don't understand 12-to-1, 20-to-1. I personally understand all of the studying of the form, but I would never back a 20-to-1 that should be 40-to-1. I'd back a 20-to-1 that I think should be 8-to-1. Is that what we're saying? Does value still come into it?
Well, sometimes a horse is marked up at 12, 14, 16, 20-to-1 where it should have opened up at favorite.
Correct. That's what we're saying.
But the guys who are doing the odds, they got their hands full, they can't pick everything up, and they're going to get it wrong more often than not.
Yeah.
They're going to get it right a certain amount of percentage. I think it's 33% they get it right, or 30%.
Okay.
Which means 70% they're getting it wrong. And
your job is to find it.
My job is to find it, or used to be. I mean, I used to be crazy for horses and horse racing. Like, when we discussed earlier, I said I used to be like sick for the punting and racing.
Yes.
But over the last 20 years, funny enough, or even more, I haven't punted much at all. In fact, for me to spend more than 200 Rand a week on horse racing is a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah. And David, that's got a lot to do with being busy, with the increase in the amount of racing, I'm assuming.
It's
not being able to get on, all of those things.
Yeah, it's all of those things. Do I want to go sit at the tote? No, I don't. Do I have accounts with certain bookmakers? I used to in the old days.
Yeah.
Can I afford to punt right now? No. Keeping Formgrids going has been a very, very costly exercise. And I sometimes sit and wonder why I pumped everything I bloody worked for and earned into Formgrids to help the racing industry with not much help in return, because Pumalele at the time, the executives never saw the way clear to understand that this is a tool that is very necessary for, they thought it's only for the professional punter.
Right.
But
I don't think that that's the case. And I'm glad that you've mentioned the effort that you've made for the industry. And in this first episode, I think I'm looking forward to anybody that's watching this on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook channel, that people actually say via the comments, thank you. Because I know you've put more than just your heart and soul into it. There's been a considerable financial investment in this. So I'd like to, from my perspective, say thank you. I do know that there was at one point a donation button on Formgrids. I know that that's not why we're doing this, but if anybody does want to help out, just say thank you. Send 100 Rand, send 10 Rand, send 1 Rand. What difference does it make? Right? David has kept it free. He's got his obvious sponsors, which we're now going to talk about, that really also help in keeping it going, right? So do you want to mention them, David?
Yeah, in the beginning, we had, I think the first one we had was Hollywood.
Okay.
Devon and Owen. And right now, they're the ones keeping us alive.
Sure.
If it wasn't for them, we'd probably be closed. So Hollywood has been a huge help in keeping us going. And Owen is even looking to help us further what we're doing, because as you know, Owen doesn't do, him and Devon, they don't do things for their pocket. They do things for everybody else and for the industry.
Yes.
And whatever comes back to them, good luck to them, because these people just dig deep, and
Yes.
they help everybody in the game. So we're privileged to have Hollywood as sponsors,
That's
and
good.
I'm hoping that we can, keep going and even go more forward.
So big
And
shout out to Hollywood and to Owen and to Devon, who I will say they've got their own publications.
yeah, yes,
They've got their
yes,
own publications, and they're still supporting a rival publication, technically speaking,
technically
because,
speaking,
because
yes,
A, the person running the rival publication has also had the best interests of racing at heart, and B, because it's a good product. They wouldn't be sponsoring a not so good product.
yes. You see, so Owen, we chat on WhatsApp occasionally. As he puts it, he's written all the other stuff for the industry. He's done a hell of a lot for the industry himself
Yeah,
with his Hollywood stuff. And ours is slightly different to his, but like you say, we weren't part of the Hollywood team, yet he still gave us a hand, even Devon. I mean, they didn't have to,
yeah.
and yet they did. And we are very, very grateful for the sponsorship.
Okay, but you've got others as well.
Well, not much. The main guards have stuck with us with the horse feed company, which they advertised on our front page.
Okay.
They've stuck with us for years and years and years and years, and God knows why, but they've just been there for us. And believe you me, even that small little ad, in amount wise, it's not a lot of money,
Yes.
but it makes a hell of a difference
Okay.
when you're trying to keep something like this going and keep it alive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
You
can
know
believe.
that little. When I say little, it's not huge as far as adverts go, but they've been exceptionally generous to stay with us all these years. They've never once questioned us. They've never once been late on a payment, or nothing, nothing. Just every month, there you go. They they're there for us, and we are so grateful to.
Yeah, and it's lovely because there is a lot of that kind of thing in the industry. Like probably a lot of people watching this don't know that you fund Formgrids on your own. Do you know what I mean? Probably people think that this whole thing just works magically and that there's tons of money in the system and we know it's not the case. So I think I think we'll end this part of it with just saying thank you to you and thank you to all the sponsors. And obviously I'm going to do it for you, but I think thank you to all the followers that you have because they also are quite loyal, eh, David? You guys hit silly numbers every month, don't you?
Yes, and I was looking just the other day of late. Believe it or not, 40% of all new signups are from outside of South Africa.
Oh, that's really good, eh? Well, that's all
Yeah.
because of me, because I spend all my time pumping South African racing. I'm taking credit for that.
Okay, because we're getting a lot of international visitors,
That's
but
really
I just needed to mention Capstone because that's the horse speed company Capstone. I just wanted to give them a
okay.
proper
Yeah, and
mention.
we'll mention them in our bio, and we'll thank them and Hollywood and all that. Okay,
Yes.
we're gonna nip that now. We're gonna say a half of goodbye to each other, and then we're gonna start on some of the key stuff about form grids.
Okay,
So
let's go.
thanks, guys, for watching episode 1. Episode 2 will be wearing the same clothes, but it's just so that we have a split, and we can lure you to follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and then you'll be notified when episode 2 will be coming out. So thank you, David. That's episode 1 done.